Come, walk down the winding path. Don't mind the spooks and monsters. They stay hidden within the trees. There are mysteries in this world that you need to know, and paranormal truths that need to be told. Come, step up into the caravan while we share tales of old, as well as new accounts about things you thought only existed in your nightmares. Hello?
Hello, Jenny.
Hey, welcome to the Caravan, Tom. How are you?
Well, I'm getting better.
Yeah? That's good to hear.
So, are you ready to go? I'm ready to go.
I am. I'm ready to go. I would love to hear your stories.
Okay. Now, most of my stories are not scary. I got a few that get scary, but most of them aren't necessarily scary, and I think there's a reason for that. But I
Awesome.
have had a lot of activity personally, and as a result, I've been going around collecting ghost stories in my travels because I have a business where I sell art. I run around all over the state, and everywhere I go, I collect ghost stories.
I love that. I really, it's really cool to be a story collector, or a storyteller. That's really what got me into this as well, is hearing everybody else's stories, because it's really fascinating, um, just the reality of the world. The paranormal is really, I mean, to me, in my world, it's a lot more realistic than a lot of people know.
Well, I tell people that the spirit world is right next to our world, and sometimes into our world. And I'm not surprised by it. Not scary. Uh, but everywhere I go, I ask everybody, do you have a ghost story? Most people respond, no, I don't have a ghost story. And 2 minutes later, they're telling you a ghost story.
Oh, that's awesome.
Really, really. So I'll get into some of those, but I think first what I'll talk about is my experiences, because I think this is the basis for why I'm interested.
Of course,
And,
yeah.
And my opening comment would be that I'm just an average guy. I like sports. I work on the house, watch TV, see ghosts. I'm not what I would call psychic. And I will say that in the last 2.5 years, I've started to hear them, which is shocking to me.
Wow.
I've never heard ghosts before, and in the last 2.5 years, there's a female that likes to visit the house. I don't know who she is. She likes to talk to the dog. I'll hear her talk to the dog.
Wow.
One time, I was upstairs working, because I work out of the house, and I heard the front door open, somebody walk in, and a female voice said, "Hi, baby," to the dog. And the dog didn't bark or anything. And I was going, "Who's that?" So I came looking, couldn't find anybody. My wife was out running, and I saw her coming up the street. It wasn't her.
Wow.
But I've heard her talking to the dog before. One time she talked right in my ear, but it was garbled, so I couldn't make out what she was saying. Other times I've come home and she's in another room talking. I don't know who she is. I assume it's family. And but that is very disconcerting, because that's not what I was. I didn't live like that all my life. All of a sudden, that's occurred. So that's unusual for me.
Yeah,
So,
it's very it brings it to a whole nother level. When I was really little, I did hear somebody whisper my name in my ear, and nobody
Uh,
was there. So that was a very shocking event.
yeah, well, that's shocking. Uh, my wife has the ability to see the spirits.
Mm,
She's seen a number of family, real old friends. She's seen them, and even
right.
she was working one time, and she saw a lady in a bright colored dress walk into her office. So she followed her into the office, and nobody was there.
Oh, wow.
So my wife can see them, and
Mhm.
occasionally they'll say hi to her. But
Wow.
my very first experience was when I was 20. A
Mhm.
good friend of mine, my best friend, was was dying, and it was in a coma, and I couldn't say goodbye to him. So I was convinced that he
Mhm.
would come back and say goodbye to me. And so the next day after he had passed, I was awakened in the morning by my bed being shaken violently, and I knew he was saying goodbye.
Wow.
Found out later that he also grabbed his grandma and aunt's big toes to say
Oh,
goodbye. And
wow.
so I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's a little disconcerting. It's the first time that anything like that had happened, but
Hmm.
I still thought it was cool.
Well,
Then
yeah.
I didn't have anything happen to me at all until I was in my mid 30s, and I was dating my wife. We've been
Mhm.
married for almost 32 years, and she was a widow. Her husband said that he didn't want some guy coming in and drinking his beer.
Oh
And I
my.
don't drink beer, so it shouldn't have been a problem. But the first night that I was going to spend the night overnight at her house, we were getting ready for bed, and in her bedroom and her son's bedroom simultaneously, pictures fell off of the wall.
Oh my goodness.
And my response was kind of amused. I don't scare that easy, so it didn't really bother me. But I thought it was kind of funny. So
I definitely would have been spooked. I don't think I would have been able to sleep that night.
well, you're not going to get rid of me that easy.
Well, that's good.
So then my all the action started for me seriously in 2001. My dad was a heart patient. 4 days before he passed, he was at my house for a party, and he said to me that he wanted me to put his ashes out at Dunham Hills. And on
Mm.
Thursday, he went out to Dunham Hills, and he was gone before he hit the grass.
Oh wow.
So he had always told everybody he wanted to go at the golf course. So it's like
Mm.
he choreographed this. The
Wow.
the league put his clubs on a cart, played 18 holes in his honor, had it,
Mm.
and somebody called the local DJ on the radio, and the next day he was talking about how my dad held up the league and had gone at the golf course.
Oh wow.
So that was the start of everything for me,
Mm.
and he was extremely active. He was a big character in life.
Mm.
So my sister went out to the emergency room, and there she was standing there looking at him, and she was crying, and she heard him come up behind, put his arms around her, and say, uh, "Don't cry for me. Go take care of your mother." And she said, "Yeah."
Oh.
So he also at the same time appeared to one of my cousins that he had a special admiration for because she had made something out of herself. She showed up at the same time to my niece dressed as a young Marine.
Wow.
And he gave hugs to my sister. And
That's
so he was
absolutely incredible.
been saying goodbye to people.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the funeral, we went back to the house. Mom took me into the bedroom, and she pulled out a whole bunch of brand new underwear out of the drawer and stacked them up on the bed. Said, "This is brand new." I'm the only one that would have fit into them. All my brother-in-laws are big guys.
Mm-hmm.
Took me into another room and gave me some other stuff, and I never got the underwear. She called me the day and said, "You know that stack of underwear? It's gone."
Oh,
Dad didn't
wow.
want to have his underwear. And I, someday we'll find it hiding in the corner somewhere in the house, but we never found that underwear.
Wow. That's really interesting. Wow.
Well, I thought that was pretty funny.
It is. It is. Wow. That's amazing.
So then back at the house, my house, everything started. So my youngest son was going off to classes at college, and so I walked him to the front door, said goodbye, and walked straight downstairs to work, and I heard the front door open and close and heavy footsteps come in. So I thought there must be something going on, so I went back up to see my son. He was not here. His car was gone. It wasn't him.
Wow.
I'm going, who walked into the house? I heard the footsteps.
Wow.
So then, in the middle of the night, I got up to go to the bathroom, and I walked to the other end of the house, walked through the kitchen, and there's heavy footsteps walking right behind me.
Oh.
Reaction was, who is that?
Right.
It wasn't scary to me, but, that's, what's going on? I'm not used to. So the very next 2 nights, my wife was up with the dog in the middle of the night and heard the same footsteps in the kitchen. The dog kind of freaked out. And so it wasn't just me that heard that.
Right.
So you can tell that a spirit is coming by to visit you. The lights in the family room would flicker. Well, I knew somebody was, I don't know who, but somebody was coming to visit.
Right.
Then there was a lot of banging on the walls and cabinets, telling me about, they're there.
Right.
Bang on the walls and the cabinets, make a lot of noise. So,
yeah, that's amazing because there's been times where I've heard footsteps. My daughter and I want to say she was about 4 or 5 at the time. And we heard really heavy footsteps come in the house. And I thought it was my husband, and I heard my name, and it sounded like it was him saying Jennifer. And I look, but he's not here. I mean, he had went to work and everything, and he was fine, but it sounded just like him. And my grandfather, he told me a story that after his mom had passed away, he was staying up there in her house, and he woke up in the middle of the night, and he could see her standing at the end of the bed. And he knew that it was just her saying goodbye. That was
Yeah.
probably one of the very first ghost stories I ever heard.
Yeah, I think that when you deal with a lot of ghost stories, you're dealing with family and friends.
Right.
And they're not necessarily scary.
Right.
They're just dropping by to say hi.
Right.
So over a period of about 9 years, we had knocking on the bathroom when you're taking a shower. I even had the lights would get turned off on me while I was taking a shower.
Wow.
One time, my son told us years later that he was lying in bed and he heard a terrible commotion in my framing room where it sounded like somebody was breaking in through the window, knocking everything over, making a lot of noise.
Wow.
He got up and picked up something to defend himself with and came into my framing room, and absolutely nothing was disturbed.
Wow.
All this commotion.
Mm-hmm.
So there was, some teasing going on.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of things going on, and so at a certain point, I issued an out loud edict that whoever is in the house has to get out. I don't know who it is. You have to get out of my house. It's my house.
Right.
So that evening, me and the dog were standing there between the kitchen and the front hallway, and both the front door and the door to the garage started shaking violently, and the dog was freaked out. And so I knew whoever I had kicked out was unhappy about it. I could hear him in the garage banging around too. So I don't know who it is at that point. So in the middle of all this, I decided I'm going to remodel the family room. And I had heard that if you do some serious remodeling, you can stir up a lot of activity.
Right, I've heard that too.
Yeah, so I tore that room right out to the studs.
Oh.
And I was taking pictures of the work, and there's pictures of me working, and I'm surrounded by orbs. There's orbs in the room. Well, I don't know this, so I send pictures to my boys, and they respond, "How'd you get all those orbs in there?" I look at the picture, I can't believe my eyes. It's like I'm surrounded by orbs when I'm working. So as a control, I took pictures at night when no work was going on and there were no orbs. Some people say, "Oh, there's no such thing as orbs." Well, yes, there is. I got pictures of them. Some of these pictures are big, and you can see a pattern in the orb.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Some people claim they've faces in orbs. I didn't see that, but I've got lots of pictures.
Wow. I would love to see them if you ever had them available.
Oh, I've got them.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, sure. If you're up for it, I would love to.
Yeah. In one picture, you can see a long, thin form trying to materialize in the corner. And my response was, especially after one picture, I counted 50 orbs in there.
Wow.
Which means to me 50 spirits were watching me. and I felt
Mm.
really uncomfortable. I said, I don't even want to take my clothes off to shower. There's 50 people in here.
Right.
So one day in the middle of the work, I walked in to talk to the guy putting in the door wall, and I hear woo woo, which is what my second dog would do.
Mm.
I heard my second dog. He was already, gone to dog heaven. And
Right. Wow.
I said to the guy, "Did you hear that?" And he said no. But I knew that the dog was happy that I was remodeling.
Aw, that's cool.
I continue to, work in there. And I'm in there one day, during the day, and I hear somebody walking through the kitchen, kind of shuffling.
Mm.
Well, that really kind of put it to a head for me. I was determined to find out who's in my house.
Right.
So I asked around, and I was given the name of a medium that was very highly recommended. In general, I'm not a big fan of mediums because I know a lot of them seem to be putting on an act.
Yeah, you've got to be really careful of that.
Yeah, my friends for fun would go visit one every Friday night, and one guy was somebody in the wall, and they all had some kind of a funny thing going on.
Wow.
Well, this one was legit. So I went and saw her, and she wouldn't let me talk. I wasn't allowed to talk, wasn't allowed to ask any questions.
Huh.
And because she didn't want me to influence anything.
Okay, that makes sense.
Talking to my dad, my dog, and my mother-in-law, who I suspected was shuffling through the kitchen.
Wow.
So it's very unusual to have your dog talking to you. And he said it's very nice that I run, but I should do it for a cause. Well, coming up right after that was a run to raise money for dog food for dogs whose owners were too old and couldn't afford to buy the dog food. So I signed up for that, and the night before, I got poked in the rear end as I was getting ready for bed, and I knew that was my dog Pete because he was a big, and that's what he would do. So he was happy he was going to do that race and buy some dog food for the dogs.
That is fantastic. Wow, that is great.
So, and as an aside, dogs are spirits, and I've seen where dog heaven is described as a real sunny day, and they're all lying around in the grass enjoying sunning themselves.
Oh, that sounds beautiful.
Not only did I have Pete come by, but before we got Pete, the first big standard poodle that we got, after she had passed, we both would hear her throw herself on the tiles by the front clump, because that was her favorite spot. So she would watch out for us until we got the second dog.
Wow.
And so we both knew that was her, and that was fine with us.
Well, of course. That's fantastic.
I just, thought that was really neat. But I'm quite convinced that your pets are spirits, and they go to heaven, and they have their own heaven. And a lot of people will mourn their pets. I know people have mourned their pets for years. Well, they don't want that. What they want is for you to find another pet and take it in and give it a nice house.
Oh.
That's what they want. they don't want you mourning them.
Right. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So anyway, I knew that the medium was talking to my dad because he said to her, well, just because you're on the other side doesn't mean that you turn into Mother Teresa.
Oh.
That's my dad.
That's awesome.
So,
Wow.
so that was a very unusual experience, but it made it clear that my dad was hanging around the house for all those years.
Right.
So eventually my mother was getting ready to pass, and she reported that he was laying in bed hugging her.
Oh.
Also, as she was getting ready to go, her whole family came for her to take her to heaven. So she was talking to her mother and father and her brothers and sister, and the same thing occurred to her sister,
Wow.
that when it was time for her to go, the whole family came for her and took her. And I just think that's a beautiful idea.
It is. No, I mean that's that is definitely incredible. And such a beautiful thought, because I grew up with my grandparents and my dad, and my grandpa passed away in 2011. And it was my daughter, and I've mentioned this before, that she said, "Oh, Papa Don has dinosaurs in his pockets." And he used to go in the grocery store. You could put like a quarter in this little toy machine, and you'd turn it and this little egg would pop out. And he always tried to get the dinosaur ones, and he'd put them in his pocket as a surprise, so it looked like he came home with nothing. But then all of a sudden he'd pop one out of his pocket. And it wasn't anything that I ever talked about with my kids or anything. And so it was very genuine, I felt, when she told me that. So it is definitely important and so beautiful and comforting to know that they're still around.
Yes, I think that they like to keep an eye on us. They like to visit. The medium told me that when you drive down the street and you see a person on the sidewalk, there's 10
Hmm.
spirits hanging out.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh. Because they like it here.
Hmm.
So,
Wow.
one of the things that the medium told me was that both my dog and my dad liked to get in the back seat when I went for a drive. They enjoyed going for a drive with me.
Oh,
Oh,
that is
I was
cool.
ear to ear for months after that. Every time I went for a ride, I
Oh,
would
I
think,
bet.
my dad and my dog are.
No,
I
that's
thought that was
fantastic.
delightful.
Oh,
So
yeah.
eventually, my mother passed. They they came here and visited, and then, in fact, I got pictures of orbs over everybody's head
Hmm.
after the funeral, and then they've been gone partying ever since. So
Oh.
I haven't had them around anymore. And
Hmm.
an interesting sidelight to that is I have a sister who's a nurse, and she's had experiences with her patients dying.
Hmm.
Uh, one time, she felt the spirit go right through her.
Oh, wow.
But she went out to Hawaii. She was on the top of Mauna Kea on Hawaii
Hmm.
for the sunrise. And
Oh.
a bus pulls up, and an entire Hawaiian troupe gets out, singers, dancers, musicians,
Hmm.
and they start singing and dancing. She hears both my mother and father singing the song because that was one of my
Wow.
dad's favorite songs. Right behind her, and they're giggling
Mm.
and singing, and that just tells me that once you pass into the next world, why you can travel around the world and see everything for free.
Wow. Right? Oh my goodness. Wow, that one gave me goosebumps. That's what a
That
fun story.
oh
Wow,
yeah.
an experience.
So again, this isn't scary. This is family, and
Yeah, this is
so
healing.
I really enjoyed that. That's a cool story.
Yeah.
So some people used to say to me, "Well, your house is haunted," and I say, "No, my house isn't haunted. This is all friends and family, and
Hmm.
wherever I would go, they would follow me. So it's not the house; it's about me."
Right. Wow, that makes a lot of sense.
Kind of a thing that goes along with that would be that last year on July 4th, we did our traditional trip up to Frankenmuth, Michigan, and
Hmm.
we run races, have chicken dinners, watch the fireworks, go shopping. We have a big
Mm.
time for the holiday up there.
That's
So we
cool.
rented out an old house,
Mm.
and it was right downtown Frankenmuth. And in the middle of the night, I got up for a while, and I was sitting on the couch downstairs, and all of a sudden, coming down the hallway from the kitchen, the floorboards were creaking as somebody walked on the old
Mm.
floors.
Hmm.
And I felt tingling on my left leg, going right up my left leg,
Oh
something
wow.
that I never experienced before. So, of course, I'm going, well, I wonder who that is. It was not any of our people.
Right.
So, you know, I can't tell you who that was, but somebody
Hmm.
was walking in there. I could hear them.
Wow.
So that
Wow.
was interesting. So
Yeah.
as I go around, I'm I'm gathering stories all the time. So I've
Yeah.
gotten a couple stories about dimes, and maybe
Hmm.
other people have experienced this, where there was a lady that I know that her husband collected dimes,
Hmm.
and after he passed, anytime she got upset or concerned about something, she would find dimes.
Oh wow.
And then I just talked with one of the therapists working on me at PT, and he
Hmm.
told me a similar story of how in his family uh, they find dimes, and the dimes are always heads up,
Oh wow.
and that's got something to do with a relative. So I think
Hmm.
that's a lot of fun.
No,
Uh,
that would be amazing. And, would just definitely make you feel, again, really comforted.
yeah, yeah, they're looking out for us.
Right. Yeah, I really love this, all these stories. It definitely puts a different perspective on it because in this realm of paranormal and podcasting, you generally hear more of the spooky and the scary and the evil, but to get the other side, the happy and the beautiful and the healing and comforting, it's you know that's a gift. This is really
Yeah,
cool.
well, you have to remember that there is the negative part of the spirit world that exists.
Right.
So, for example, I live very close to Oakland University, And on the grounds of Oakland University is Meadowbrook Hall. This was a huge mansion built about 100 years ago by Matilda Dodge of the Dodge family. And he brought in artisans from Europe to build an old-fashioned, incredible mansion.
Wow.
I've visited. I don't have any personal stories, but I was talking to a docent who gives tours. She says, I see Matilda walking around checking out everything all the time. I talk to her, say hi.
Wow. Wow.
I have friends that like to go over there, and they say that, the whole thing is closed up, but they'll see curtains moving in the windows. Somebody's looking out the window at them.
Wow.
There are 2 children's playhouses, miniature houses, that were built for the Dodge children. They like to go over there, but the dog doesn't like it at all, and the dog ran back to the car.
Wow.
So hey, maybe we should get out of here. But before they did, they took a couple pictures.
Ooh.
Picture is of the playhouse, and you can see a number of orbs. Picture was more of the woods around there, and there were a zillion orbs in that picture. I mean, there was a lot of orbs. So I showed that to the medium, and she said, "Oh, put that away. I don't want to see that."
Really?
A negative entity in the middle of that. And the reason I can say that is as they got back to the car, to get in the car, they heard a child's voice go, "Mommy."
Oh.
And that's a negative entity that's trying to fool you.
Right. Oh. Ooh,
So,
that's scary.
they want me to go over there and check it out, and I said, no, I'm not interested. I don't look for ghosts.
Right.
I don't want to go someplace and have something negative follow me home.
Oh, of course.
So for me, ghost hunting is not a good sport. I don't want to do that. And I have heard of people that have had negative entities follow them home, so I'm not the least bit interested in that. I got a lot of action over here as it is. I don't need any more.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. It's amazing. There was a post in the group not long ago that was talking about how ghosts or entities can attach themselves to almost anything, even a hairbrush at an antique store. And you buy that and you bring it home, and you've brought home more than you bargained for. So it is really incredible how easy something can either attach itself or, it's amazing.
So I want to talk briefly about my fun going out selling, and at all my stores, I get all these stories. Because I asked the store owners, you got any ghost stories? And so in my hometown, there's a jewelry store. The manager would be in the store by herself closing. And she would hear footsteps upstairs, water running, the adding machine running, and she figured that the accountant who had passed away was still hanging around.
Oh, wow.
But she was more upset with the time that she went downstairs to go to the bathroom. And while she's in the bathroom, she hears a voice go, "Hello."
Oh my gosh, that is definitely not the time you want to hear that.
And so I can say that all of these old buildings in all of these old downtowns across the state are haunted. So, for example, I was in the little town of Mansfield, and the store owner started out by saying, well, he doesn't believe in the afterworld. He doesn't believe in the spirit world. He doesn't believe in anything. But he's really got a quandary because his store is haunted.
Oh, wow.
He has a robot in there, and every night he turns the robot off by touching it. Every morning that robot is on.
Oh, really?
And
Wow.
also, it's a very old town, so a block away he has this 150-year-old house that was built by somebody from the Civil War.
Oh.
And although he doesn't believe in the spirit world, he and his daughter both hear two adults and a child talking all the time in the house.
Oh, really?
Yeah, all the time. Now, this man has a real problem. He doesn't believe, and he's living with it. So
that's fascinating. Like, what does he think that it is then?
Well, he knows that they're the ghosts of people from a long time ago. He knows that. He says that every night around midnight, while he's in bed downstairs, upstairs he hears a quarter drop on the floor. And he refinished the floors up there. So you can't walk on it because it's drying.
Oh, right.
And so that night, at midnight, he heard the quarter drop. He went upstairs in the morning and looked. There was no quarter. There was no mark. There was nothing.
Whoa. Oh, man.
That occurs every night for him.
Wow.
So he has something to work out, I think.
Yeah, no, I would say so. Wow.
So then I'm in Marine City, and my customer that I sell pictures to tells me that especially at night when she's there alone, she can see movement around the store, like somebody who's by the front door. There's movement all the time. Well, they took me around the corner to this other store. It's actually an old theater. And the man there makes great big models of ships. He's a gigantic model of the Titanic.
Oh, wow.
50 feet or 40 feet across.
Wow. Oh, that'd be so cool to see.
Very interesting. And so he showed me his latest model that was just made. And he said to me that he doesn't believe in ghosts, but he owns a lighthouse up on Lake Superior, and the lighthouse is definitely haunted. Guys that don't believe in ghosts live with that's a lot of fun for me.
Well, yeah. No, that's a very a fascinating thing to no, I don't believe in ghosts, but yeah, my house is haunted. That's
yeah, well,
very
how do you reconcile that,
Exactly. Wow.
Well, then I've got a little town, a really little town in the middle of the farmland in the middle of the state. And I'm in there talking to a dealer, and she said that there's a local woman who bought up several blocks of buildings in downtown Mason. And the old funeral home is so haunted that she can't keep a renter in there.
Oh, my goodness.
everybody in town knows about it, and so everybody in
Mm.
town is always going over there and looking in the windows, and she
Oh,
doesn't
wow.
want anybody to do that because it's going to mess up the uh, renting ability. She doesn't want anybody to know it's haunted, but everybody knows this.
Wow.
Then I'm in another little old town in Tecumseh, and the store owner told me, well, yeah, every time that she goes down in the basement, um, they turn the lights off on her.
Oh, that would just, that's one thing that would really get me. Even if it was a friendly spirit, just the fact that this is reality and that spirits can influence our physical world to turn off a light. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
that it would definitely, spook me.
Well, I've seen things move, and
Hmm.
you know, what can you say when you see something move, and
Yes,
you can't see anybody?
that's true. I was at my sister's house when we were younger, and there was a shelf that she had soda cans on, empty soda cans for recycling. And one flew off of the shelf. And I mean, it looked like somebody just came right up and hit it right off. And I remember just kind of freezing, and I was really nervous. And later on, I had the courage to snap a photo of the stairs going up right next to the shelf. And lo and behold, there was a image standing on the stairs. It was like it kind of had almost a skeleton type of a face, um, in a very human outline. But I don't keep photos that turn out like that just because it didn't feel happy, and I just felt that by keeping it, it would be more of a tie to something negative.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's long gone.
Well, my last ghost story is a very recent one. It comes from my sister
Mm.
nurse. She had a 2-year running feud with her sister-in-law, and her sister-in-law passed suddenly in December at the tender age of 49,
Oh,
and nothing was ever resolved.
oh, that's too bad.
Oh, then in January, my sister's dog every night was very upset, growling, barking, his hair standing on end. He was seeing
Wow.
something.
Mm-hmm.
So after a week of that, my sister saw the spirit of her sister-in-law,
Wow.
and it was extremely negative, like she was trying to come and get her.
Ooh. Oh
So
goodness.
my sister prayed to Jesus to keep her out,
Right.
and then that night, the front door, although it was locked, flew
Mm-hmm.
open, and all the winter cold air was coming in the house.
Oh
And
goodness.
her husband had to get up and close the door and lock it again. But then
Wow.
she hasn't seen the sister-in-law since. But
Oh goodness.
that was upsetting.
Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that would be terrifying, really.
She
Wow.
was very upset. I asked her, how did you feel? She said, I felt, a lot of negativity.
Right.
It wasn't a friendly visit.
Oh
Whenever
no.
you're having any kind of a visit, if you feel upset and negative, then you may have a negative visit there.
Right.
So if you're not upset, you're not negative, then it's not a bad thing.
Right. Oh yeah. No, there's been Sometimes it feels when I hear something or think that I saw something out of the corner of my eye, sometimes there's really no feeling there, so I feel like it's just neutral. And I really try to trust my intuition as best as I can. And so if I am feeling worried or scared, negative in any way, then I definitely try to, you know, do the prayers and everything, and usually
Hmm.
everything just stops or goes away. So
Your feelings will tell you whether this is good or bad.
exactly, yes, that is so true.
So I want to touch on another interest of mine,
Hmm.
which comes from my family, basically.
Hmm.
Uh, the near-death experience.
Right.
And the first one that I talked to was my grandma.
Mm.
During surgery, her heart stopped, and
Wow.
then they revived her. So I called her up and I said, Grandma, what did you see?
Mm.
And she said that she found herself on a street with a big
Oh.
iron gate across, and on the other side were a whole lot of big-eyed children playing, and they all ran up to the gate to look at her, and she was afraid they were going to knock her over.
Oh, wow.
Those are her words.
Right.
So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I've never heard of anything like that before.
Yeah, I've talked with 30 people with the near-death experience, and they all
Wow.
describe something different. Uh,
Huh.
you don't get the same story in the same scenario, and that's really interesting to me.
Wow, that's fascinating.
The real good story is my uncle. He was carjacked at a car wash and shot in the chest. He
Oh
was
my
dead as a
goodness.
doornail. And he came back at the hospital. Well, it had to be quite a while before he got to the hospital.
Wow.
He came back and he was perfectly fine. So I asked him, what did you see?
Yeah.
And he said that he was met by his mother and stepfather. And they said, sorry, you have to go back. So he bragged,
Oh.
been kicked out of heaven already.
Oh. Wow.
So
Oh my
later
goodness.
on, I asked him again for details.
Right.
And he said that dying is the best thing that can happen to you. You shoot right out of your body. You can look down and see it lying there.
Wow.
Uh, you feel wonderful. You feel fabulous. And
Hmm.
you don't see people, you see their souls.
Oh.
And their souls are so beautiful that you can hardly look at them.
Wow.
So he
Oh.
finally, and I'm sure that they let him into heaven this time. But
Oh.
he felt that he was sent back to tell everybody that, hey, there's another world waiting for us.
Oh,
So
that's
I
amazing.
really enjoyed that story. I got two
Oh,
brother-in-laws.
me too.
Uh, both found themselves looking at the tunnel to the light.
Hmm.
And the one said, get me out of here, and went back in his body. The other one looked up and saw Jesus and then went back in his body.
Wow.
But
Wow.
my favorite story of them all
Hmm.
is a story that I got verbatim from three separate people that don't know each other, and they all had exactly word for word the same story.
Ooh.
Were very seriously sick as children. An
Hmm.
angel came and took them to heaven and put them in God's arms, and the angels spread magic dust over them. And then God said, well, you have to go back. You have important things to do.
Oh.
So now you
Wow.
could say, that's just a dream, except for one little point. Those 3 people were never sick again.
Oh my goodness. Chills. Oh man. Oh.
That's
Oh.
really my favorite of all the
Yes.
that I've collected, because that's really interesting. And like I say, that came from 3 separate people. And
Yeah. No,
so
that's powerful.
there are stories of people who were in surgery and they were floating up on the ceiling watching the surgery.
Right.
There's
Mm.
stories of this one man that I know had his neck broken playing rugby,
Ooh.
and he fell floating in this dark place, but
Mm.
way far away he could see a light, and even though it was far away he could feel the warmth of the light.
Wow.
But he went back into his body and recovered. But
Mm.
he is an artist, and so he's made paintings of what he remembers.
Oh
So those
wow.
are very interesting to me.
Yeah, I would love to see those. That would
Yeah,
be
I'll and
wow.
dig that up. Then you've got this other woman was in surgery.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, she found herself in an office. People were
Hmm.
going in and out of the office. There was a man behind the desk, and he went through the files and he said, "Well, you're not supposed to be here."
Oh. Wow.
He went back.
Oh.
So I I just find these stories to be so interesting
Oh
and like a
wow.
different. So
Yeah.
anyway, I can tell you with confidence that there's another world that we go to when we
Mm-hmm.
leave here, and
Oh, I
you're going to
believe
be
it.
met by somebody, family, friends, loved ones, an angel, maybe Jesus.
Wow.
So it's not a scary thing, and
Right.
so those are the stories that I put together for you for today.
Well, thank you so much. It means a lot, and we're actually just wrapping up in time too, because I gotta grab my older girls from school. So that was absolutely perfect, and I would love to have you back on.
Yeah, well, I'll put some more together.
Yes, please. That'd be wonderful. Thank you so much. It was definitely incredible and eye-opening and really healing too. So, thank you.
Yeah, most of my stories are not scary, and
Yeah.
I would say don't be so afraid if a loved one comes to visit you. You know, it's all meant in love.
Thank you for that. That is so wonderful.
So you take care of yourself, and I'll talk to you. I'll
Yes,
send you some.
definitely.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, we'll talk soon.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.
Watch your step, lest you move on death. It lay there cold, eating underneath your last breath. Hold your tongue, still I've gone. The beast that follows is close, but we'll move on. Snake eyes always on my tail. Snake eyes always up ahead. Oh, snake eyes hidden in the dark. Snake eyes better catch a spark. midst of peril and impending doom. Will you fight or run and hide? When the storm winds blow, will you have the strength to turn the tide? Snake eyes always on my tail. Snake eyes always up ahead. Oh, snake eyes hidden in the dark. Snake eyes better catch a spark. Snake eyes always on my tail. Snake eyes always up ahead. Oh, snake eyes hidden in the dark. Snake eyes better catch a spark.